All right, we are going to take a look at the chapter 4 through 7 test review for AP World History. The first question, you want to look at Cyrus being the king that unified Iran or Persia. The rulers of Persia had respect for local religious and traditions. They used satraps as the administrators of their different provinces. The satraps were given some autonomy, and they used some other tactics for success, using some technologies that they had and learning from other cultures, and road building was something that was important for them. For question number 2, you want to focus on some of what we know about the Persian women come from a Greek perspective, which is a very negative perspective of Persian culture. So we now know that the elite Persian women could own property and they could have other political influences. The third question, look at the Greeks. Their resources were not that strong, but they still managed to prosper economically because they accessed foreign markets. They had some ideas. They used coins. The coins were used for easy exchange, easy record keeping, rapid transactions, and an easy storage of wealth. The fourth question, always city-states because of the geography. They experimented with oligarchy, which were wealthy members of society held the power. They had a time of tyranny, where someone gained power by unconventional means. Don't forget, tyrants were not always bad. Some tyrants sought change. And then democracy, which included political participation by all free native-born adult males in Greece. Athens specifically. Question 5 talks about humanism, and this is valuing the uniqueness, the rights, and the talents of individuals. Question number 6, look at Athens specifically, how they were claiming that they were the best ever. This annoyed the Spartans. Make sure you see that this is the Peloponnesian War, not the Persian War. So Athens began to annoy some of the people around them, especially Sparta, because they were claiming that they were the greatest. The alliance system led to war. Once a couple people got involved, a lot of other people were drawn into it. This shows us that the polis, or the city-states, there was a lot of rivalry amongst the different city-states, a lot of mistrust among the neighbors, and the Persians come in and help the Spartans, which eventually leads to their victory. Question 7, they're very aggressive fans of war. There's a short term of the council. Remember, the council only served for 1 year. They wanted to gain a lot of glory. There was a desire to acquire land as a buffer zone between them and their enemies. There was a presence of, they had a large and a well-maintained military, so they wanted to put them to use. And unlike the Greeks, the Romans extended citizenship in a degree to most of the people that they conquered. Question number 8, focus on establishing provinces, administering them, sending senators to oversee them. Question 9, and I know that I'm flying through this. I'm not reading the question. Hopefully you have your review guide out. I put it up on the screen here too, so you can pause the video if I'm going too fast. Look at the question, get this stuff down. Question number 9, armies were more loyal to military leaders than they were to the state, and so this is one of the key things that's going to lead to the decline of the Roman Republic. Question number 10, it was rejected at first. Christianity was rejected at first. Paul had some successes as a missionary because he was a Roman citizen and he used the Roman roads to help travel to spread Christianity. Constantine, who is a emperor of the Byzantine Empire, converts to Christianity. He led them to tolerate, to accept, and eventually Christianity is going to dominate the area. Question 11, look at obedience and proper conduct. This is how families should function and how the leader of the state should lead his empire. Emperor Wu was ambitious in exploring and conquering more territory. 13, the horse collar, the watermill, the crossbow trigger, just to name a few. There's more, check them out. 14, we have corrupt government, nomad invasions, frustration of hungry peasants, and the failure of the Hans making reforms. 15 is focusing on skin color was the cause. The Aryans were the light-skinned people from the Indo-European people. The Dassas were the dark-skinned people. And this is eventually going to lead to the caste system. 16, we're looking at women in the Vedic Age. And so what you want to see with women in the Vedic Age is strong, resourceful, they could own property. They didn't get married until their mid or their late teens. They were able to study lore, which means there was some education going on amongst women. They could compose some like spiritual hymns to deal with the religion of the time. This is going to massively decline in the transition to the Gupta Empire for women in India. The Brahmin delayed the intro of writing to preserve their social standing. They didn't want to educate many people because they wanted to stay on the top because they were the only people that could study the Rig Veda and the other Vedic texts. The Buddhists and the Jainists offered insight or enlightenment as a means of salvation instead of the rituals. So this was a draw to many people, Jainism and Buddhism. They could do it apart from these Brahmin. Buddha taught that life is suffering and suffering comes from desire. Please be familiar with the Four Noble Truths in the Eightfold Path for the test. Question 18, the landscape is varied. There is a variety of economic activities, complex social hierarchy, and many languages and cultures that go on. Be familiar with the northern part of India, the central and the southern part during that political fragmentation. That's the time period between the Mauryan and the Gupta. Question 19 talks about the reasons for the Mauryan Empire collapse. There's dynastic disputes, expense of maintaining a large army, and they had pressure from attacks in the northwest. Some invaders were coming in. The Gupta give us the concept of zero and the base 10 system. They give us some other intellectual achievements as well. 21, the main products being exchanged during the Gupta is the cotton cloth, the ivory, and the metalwork. 22, the Malay people are riding monsoon winds. They're using double outrigger canoes. Navigation was based on the wave patterns, the clouds and swells, and they would navigate using birds and other sea life. 23, the Silk Road trade route stretched from China all the way to the Mediterranean. Nomads provided animals, animal handlers. They provided protection along the road. Focus on chariot warfare, mounted bowmen, and stirrups are some of the technologies that are created. Question 24, the branch of Christianity, the Sassanid Empire welcomed Nestorianism, or Nestorian. So you definitely want to check that out in your book. 25, the key characteristics of the Indian Ocean maritime trade, they used the monsoon winds to travel. Family life was very cosmopolitan, meaning diverse because of the blending of different cultures, because of all the travel that was going on throughout the Indian Ocean. Southeast Asia had good access to fresh water, so they had a lot more permanent settlements than, say, Western Asia. 26, think about the camel coming from the Arabian Peninsula. Focus on the connection between north and south of Africa. 27, great tradition are things like written languages, ethical codes, intellectual traditions, common legal and belief systems. So the small traditions, these are things that are usually non-literate, localized, and beliefs for a single society. 28, you're looking at here broad common elements of African culture, the hoe and the digging stick used for farming, music, kingship, fixed social categories. 29, look at the environmental changes that inspired southern migration. Look at the movement of metalwork throughout Africa, from the northern part of Africa down into sub-Saharan Africa. You also want to follow the Bantu language migrations so that you can see tracing the movement south. Question 30, examine in detail the spread of Buddhism and Christianity, the use of missionaries. These religions are not based on a single ethnic group, and they use written language to help spread their beliefs. For the thesis statements, I'm not sure about Coach Dragone's class, but my students, I've briefly explained continuity and change over time essays, but we haven't gone into too great of detail. So I don't think there's two continuity and change over time essays. I'll announce what they are. I think what I'm going to do for my students, though, is I'm going to give you the two comparative essays, and I'm going to turn one of the continuity and change over time essays on the test into a comparative essay. And so really my class will have three comparative essays that they're going to have to, three comparative thesis statements, and they're going to have to choose two of them. So what you're going to see on the test, though, is you're going to see two comparative ones and two continuity and change over time. I'm going to alter mine slightly for my class. Coach Dragone can decide what he wants to do with his students. So I'll read all four of them. So the first comparative is compare Athens, Greece to the Roman Empire in regards to political, social, and economic characteristics. The second comparative is take a look at Greek women and Gupta women, compare Greek women to Gupta women, specifically with political and social characteristics. The first continuity and change over time thesis statement is in India from the year 324 BCE to 550 CE, and you're looking at the continuities and changes over time in regards to political, economic, and social characteristics. The second continuity and change over time takes place on the Trans-Sahara.
Coach Henderson, if you're in the building, please come to the guidance department or dial 45502. Coach Henderson, please come to guidance.
The next one takes place in the Trans-Sahara trade route, and this is continuity and change over time on Trans-Sahara trade route from 300 BCE to 600 CE, and you want to look at the geography, the economic, and the culture characteristics. What I'm going to do for my class is the two comparative ones are on the table, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this continuity and change over time in India, and I'm going to turn it into another comparative thesis statement between the Mauryan Empire and the Gupta. So my class, the three are going to be Athens, Greece to Roman Empire comparative, compare Greek women to Gupta women, or compare the Mauryan to Gupta. You have to pick two out of those three. Good luck. I hope you get a lot of studying in. Again, remember this review guide is not the only studying that you need to do. You need to take the book out, go over some of these questions a little more in depth, and hope you do well.